And good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is in your part of the world, Facebook family. Big old seagull just flew by. I'm on here just a few minutes early for today's live download. That's what I'm calling these. I have decided to do live downloads. I'm excited to see what comes out of my mouth when I do these. And I'm going to show you some of this pretty amazing beach. Got a little overcasty here today, but we're still rocking it out big time. In beautiful Laguna Beach. Matter of fact, I'll probably take you for a stroll with me here in just a moment. We're going to give it a little bit for folks to join us. If you're just joining me, good to see you here. Thanks for taking a couple of moments out of your day, spending with me here on our decidedly live download of the day. And I did a post, if you have a minute while you're waiting, I did a post earlier this morning, kind of alludes to a lot of what I'm going to be speaking into. Larry Stretch Mott, the man. How are you doing, my brother? Good to see you, and finally dwarfed by somebody. I saw your picture with Shaq. That was really amazing, by the way. And I felt good for you. It's exciting. Glad to see you meeting some of those cool people like yourself, man. Glad to hear. Ooh, check this out. We got lots of birdies. Yeah, it's an overcasty day here, but one thing I've learned about people when they're in California, and especially people who live in California, I think they're like honey badgers. They just don't give a shit. And they are out here. It could be gloomier than this, and they are still rocking it out, I can tell you right now. So I'm being a little bit California here today. So I'm going to take us down here just a little bit to the water before I drive deep into today's live download. When you've been through hell, how to tap into your imagination station. Something that I know that I did a lot as a child, and I will tell you as I became older, I forgot how to do it, if that's possible. Imagination, yeah, it's quite the trip. It's quite the conversation we're going to have here today, because I believe the hell conversation. You saw my post yesterday. I quoted Carl Jung, and I'm a big Jung fan. And he said something to the effect that the gates of enlightenment are more barred than anything, and I'm going to butcher the quote right now, but it's more barred than anything because it requires the necessity to go through hell, right, in order to become enlightened. And as I very humbly stated yesterday, I don't know so much about me attempting to be enlightened or come across enlightened. I believe that I have been through enough hell situations, hell-type situations, both by my own choice and not probably by choice. Went through some traumatic childhood abuse. Don't know who my father is. That's not so much traumatic, so to speak, but it's one of those things that definitely played on me for a while. I would say, getting hit by a car kind of sucks because that happened. Almost dying on drugs a couple of times, going through a divorce. I mean, for all the perceptions and great reflections that I receive from people who say, Tony, you've done a lot of great things, you're this, you're that, and I certainly, have learned to receive that feedback now, but I can tell you, based on my perception, my imagination station was tuned into definitely a very different station than what I wanted to live. Because let's face it, some of those things, if you give it too much thought, will definitely have an impact on your perspective, how you see yourself and how you act upon the world, and what you set as a priority. For me, dealing and going through a lot of abandonment stuff when I was younger, and being a quote unquote more vertically challenged male, definitely brings along with it a lot of stuff. I mean, I've always, in the past, I would say, being a short guy, number one, it's lesser expensive because you don't have to go to the tall men's store, right? But it also exposes or promotes the opposite sex in a lot of very interesting ways. But it also exposed and promoted my perceptions and my perspective and even my own self-image that I had for myself. And doing a lot of outside-in thinking that if women would accept me because I was short, then that means that I was loved and I was accepted. But, that's outside-in thinking. That's not very healthy necessarily. And certainly was something that was a hell that I was plagued by for quite some time. So, as I today stand here on Laguna Beach and I realize the hells, quote unquote, that I've been through, and I also realize, like Carl stated, was that when you look at the hells that you have been through and you see them as certain experiences, and as Joe Dispenza would say, memories that have no charge are actually assigned as wisdom, right? Because there's no longer this emotional memory that's attached to it that drives your behavior. And so, for me, today, what I've discovered is, after going through hell, like it's, rather than trying to avoid hell so much and trying to, avoid the lessons that might come from those experiences, rather more embrace them. And instead, using the imagination to tune into a different station that you want to begin to live. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to, experience hell-like symptoms or hell-like situations. Certainly are. It's really going to matter what meaning you assign it. As my mentor Travis would say, it's really, really key to be mindful, to be aware of, like, where's my imagination? Is my imagination, creating more of my past? Am I thinking more in my past? Am I thinking more of the hell I've been through? Am I thinking more of what I don't want? Or is my imagination tuned into the station of, creating the future that I want to develop right now? And I can tell you, that emotional memory that I can tell you for many, many years I would get trapped into. I would use my imagination to create more of what I already experienced, because I was focusing on what I didn't want. And so today, when I take a look at what it is that I do want, what is it that I do want to create, what is it that I do want to live into and lead into, I start to use my imagination. And now, my mornings, I'm just going to be very frank, many of my mornings used to be very tied into get up and go, get up and go, get up and go, get my cup of coffee, sit down, start doing my writing, and not really giving myself proper time to imagine. Even the night before is a great opportunity to imagine into tomorrow, bringing the future into today, as my friend Yvonne Delafleur would say, right? So taking that moment, taking that time to imagine what life can be like. And I know that sounds very, very simple, but you start to take some time to actually do that. I remember as a child, as I wrote, I believe I wrote yesterday also, was taking the time as a child. Like, I used to live in my imagination all the time. I would used to imagine. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a funny story. Was as a kid, I remember laying in bed. I was in North Carolina at the time, and I remember laying in bed, and I remember imagining playing on stage in front of all these people wearing nice clothes, because I was kind of poor. And I remember, the kind of shoes I was going to wear, and I remember all these types of things. And I just remembered leaning into that vision. And, it was kind of funny because I believe I was about 18 and I was playing a show. As you may or may not know about me, I used to be in a death metal band, two of them actually. But I remember playing in front of that show, and I was wearing shoes that were almost similar. The crowd was about the same. The experience was very, very similar. So, and then of course I remember, being 21, playing in Poland in front of 10,000 people, and that was like a whole other level, right? But I can remember that all started when I lived in North Carolina, as a child, right? Just imagining these things. And I remember even, my parents would always have to like yell into the bedroom, tell me to keep it down, to shush, because I'm in there, making guitar noises or whatever. But it was like I was thinking it, I was feeling it, I was seeing it, and so my body had no choice but to kind of follow along, and so I would experience that congruency. So, using the imagination, tuning into the imagination station, sometimes it's just a matter of taking the time and being patient with ourselves. And a couple of years ago, I got really in tune to journaling and gratitude. Gratitude is what's invited grace into my life so that I could let go of the grief that I was experiencing for so many years, and not assign so much meaning to little things, because just assigning those meanings and we're continuing to rewire and refire the same neural networks, and therefore cementing my vision of myself and how I saw the world and how I'd act upon the world. And the really cool thing about it is when you tune into your own imagination station and actually take some time to do it. I know it sounds woo-woo as hell. I'm woo-woo, FYI. But the moment that you do, there's just something naturally interesting that happens. And then I take it another step further. And of course, I journal every day and really go into detail. And right now I've been doing a lot of that. And so I've also been super inspired, to share these ideas, these concepts with you publicly. And, listen, they're not refined, they're not perfect. It's just me, demonstrating that I'm ready to share this work into the world, that I'm ready to at least take those initial steps. They may be, silly, they may be fumbly. People might necessarily make fun of me. I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, I'm exercising that emotional memory. I'm giving it new ways of working and new ways of showing up in the world. Like yesterday, I did an Instagram Live, which I have committed to doing those at least one a day. I can do them. They're super short. I actually go into the quotes that I post that are along with my pictures. And so if you like any of that stuff, I kind of dig into that, what the idea, the philosophy, the concept is behind the quotes, because all of those are ideas that I like to say come through me, not necessarily from me. I look at the picture, I see what it's saying to me, and along with my own philosophy, my perspective, and my own imagination station tuned in, I like to assign those meanings to those images, and that's what comes up with those quotes. And so on Instagram, if you haven't followed me over there, head over there. I'm doing a little Instagram Live every day, real short, real kind of point, to the point. But I'm restructuring, I'm re-networking myself, I'm realigning, I'm creating new muscle memory. And because yesterday I really didn't want to do it. Just was kind of being lazy, if I'm honest. And I said, no, screw it, I'm going to do it, right? And I did. And so this is a really, really powerful piece when you use it to, where you want to have more play in your life. Like right now, working from home, I've got it, pretty simple. But I also noticed I was getting into the rut of getting up, doing the same thing. I'd meditate, I'd journal, and then boom, I'm coffee, and I'm into my writing. And I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. And, giving myself and allowing myself to kind of restructure and imagine what could life look like? What could I, how could I still get those things done, but yet take my morning a little slower, a little easier, more ritualized, so to speak. If it means getting up earlier, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But again, I'm just using my imagination. And then also, how can I create more play in my life? Imagining what that could look like, and then, actually taking steps into doing it. Like Saturday morning, for me as much, it was still play. It was still a little bit of business, but it was play. I went to San Clemente and I spent time with a friend and helping her to kind of see some things differently. And it was fun. We sat out on the terrace and the beach was outside. You could hear it, and, it was just kind of cool. And then we talked about doing our next quote unquote business meeting on paddle boards, right? So, it's like, how can I incorporate more play and have fun and still do the things that I love to do? And I'm imagining these things and I'm starting to tune into these things. And they're becoming more of a reality because I have tuned into my imagination station. So there's really, the final piece of this is the power. And actually, I didn't even talk about profits, because certainly you can start to be more profitable with your time. You can be profitable with your relationships. You can be profitable with a business. When I talk about profits, I'm not only necessarily speaking into money per se, although I have no problem with money. I've been healing my relationship with money, and just really honoring and respecting, the money, so to speak. So when you look at the profit, you look at the power. The power for me has really, really been, it's really been powerful. I'll just say it, right? It's been powerful because it allows me to realize, like, I'm back in the seat, so to speak, that I can begin to let go of who I was and start to step into who I am. Oof. Right? Let go of who I was, but start stepping more into who I am. And who I am is lots of possibilities right now. And that's exciting, it's enticing, it's also a lot more fun, the way that I'm experiencing life right now. You know, it's Tuesday, it's the afternoon, I'm here at the beach, I'm shooting this, I'm having fun, right? And this for me is work, quote unquote. And I truly believe to own and experience more of the power, I think it's not just accepting that you've been through hellish experiences, dark times, maybe even terrible times, as I talked about. That's very well possible, but it's also probable that it's equipped you uniquely to show up powerfully in life. And simply using the imagination station to tune into what's possible, and even what's possible right now in the present, you know, with relationships, with opportunities, with partnerships, making that the focus, the more compelling future, rather than focusing on what was, who I was, who they were, those sort of things, which, you know, can certainly creep up on the best of us and have very, very challenging experiences. It really literally has started to change a lot about my world. It's really changed a lot of my relationships that I even at one point had discarded. And I've actually been able to lean deeper into those relationships with more empathy, with more compassion, more understanding. Matter of fact, I just ignited another one today that I felt compelled and felt called to lean back into. And I felt like it was a new level of leadership that myself had relaxed into. And so, realizing today, tuning into that imagination station, it holds so many opportunities for us. And sometimes, you know, the challenge might be getting overwhelmed with all the amazing opportunities that are available to us. But, you know, that's where focus comes into play. That's where, you know, really getting in alignment with what you really crave, what it is that you really desire, and what you want to experience more of, which just might be more play, more profit, and more power. So, letting go of who we are is akin to snake's molting process, or it feels that way. Yes, it does at times, right? Sometimes, I don't know too many snakes that actually fight keeping it on, though. A lot of us human beings are pretty, at least me, I'll say, I was pretty good at wanting to keep that stuff on. That's my identity. I was afraid to let go of it. And that's where, you know, there's been a lot of experiences. You know, ayahuasca is one experience where I've, you know, been able to literally, you know, stop resisting and let go, you know, of holding on to those identities, letting some of that old stuff fall away and die away. So, I totally get it. Today's a powerful day, and I hope that today is a powerful day for you. At least that's what I am sending your way. And I love making these videos for you right now, doing these Facebook Lives. If you like them, if you dig them, give them a like, give them a share. Somebody might actually appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to do some more of these for you. And for you, if in the event that this has resonated with you, I'd really appreciate it. Share with me. You can share below in the comments. You can also share with me in private message what your greatest takeaway was, what maybe you'd even like to hear more about. But for now, I've got quite a few of these lined up. Looking forward to sharing more of them with you. And listen, I appreciate you. And I'm glad that you took some time to tune in with me here today. So otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great day.